And by the way, is that before we continue, is that okay? We post it on Facebook channel of and YouTube channel of CTA, right?
Ask me like this, yes, of course.
I asked you on a recorded line. Hi, Lillian. So shall I hand it over to you, Jana, or we'll wait for another 1 minute? 5:05. People are still coming in. Hey, Frenda.
Hi, Frenda.
Hello. Hi, Jana. Hi, Harris.
Hello.
I'm just trying to figure out how this works.
What? The Zoom?
Yeah, I know how it works, but I'm trying to pick one face that I can focus on during the presentation.
Focus on this one then.
Which one?
This one.
On you or what?
Yeah. The still one.
Okay, now I see. So I have you now on my full screen, and then a couple of other people on the side. So which is called gallery view, yeah?
Yeah, that's gallery view. And then if you put the speaker view, it'll be just you when you're talking.
Yeah.
Or whatever you have on your screen share.
So let's go to gallery view, speaker view. I got it. Okay. Okay. But I see you. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Damien.
Hey guys, how are you? Hey Frenda, Natalia.
Harris, would you allow me to share my screen?
I would have to. Done.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I think we can see a screen very well, and
okay.
Let's start.
Woo. God be with me, yeah? Okay. Hi guys, and welcome to another session of Community of Practice. Today with me, my name is Jana Habson, and I'm going to present today a topic that is very dear to me, and it's about my journey to become a conscious parent. So, a minute. Yeah, so a bit about myself. As mentioned, my name is Jana Habson. I am 36 years old, mother of two wonderful children. One is 6, another one is 2. I'm married. I live in Dubai since 8 years. And ethnically, I am from Kazakhstan. I grew up in Germany. And my background is in economy and in psychology. So my love for psychology came when I was around 10 years old. No, not 10, 5, sorry. It was during the time when my parents got a divorce. And I was wondering, back then I was wondering, can people ever change the way they behave and why people behave the way they do? So, and in 2013, when I had my first child, I had the so-called baby blues. Perhaps the ladies can relate to that. It's when you're being totally overwhelmed as a first-time mom. And that was actually the journey that started towards my conscious parenting journey. So, oops, sorry guys. Okay. So the agenda for today is very easy, very, it's why conscious parenting. I believe it is very important. What is conscious parenting and how to parent consciously? So I want to also say upfront that I know this topic is very sensitive because a lot of participants here who are parents themselves. So it is, I know we have a lot of nationalities here, we have a lot of different kind of religion, and it's absolutely not a criticism. It is my way, how I experience parenting. And there are probably parents here who have much older kids than mine, who are 6 and 2, but perhaps you can take something away from it. All right. So why conscious parenting? When the start of community of practice, it started during the lockdown. And I found that idea very fascinating. And it was very important for me to connect with my fellow coaches. It was very important for me as well to push myself out of my comfort zone and to contribute back to our community. And I thought it's a wonderful idea. And I was thinking, what can I do? Where should I put my focus on? What will be helpful? And I started to focus on where my energy would go the most. And the most energy went towards my 2 kids. So here we are, 3 weeks of lockdown. Everybody was working. All of a sudden, I'm home, stuck with them. 2 small kids, plus husband, plus nanny. Back then, I thought I would be a conscious parent. Back then, I was thinking I got it all sorted out, and the kids were on a proper agenda. They had a daily schedule. They woke up in the morning, went to school, and came back, played, eat dinner, shower, and that's it. And they go to sleep. So here I am with them 24 hours, 24/7. And that was a hard one. So I realized, okay, so I guess that's where my whole energy is going towards. Let's do something about that. On the other hand, I also think it's a good idea to speak about conscious parenting because there was a lot of anxiety in me. There was a lot of fear, like I hope we don't catch coronavirus. And there was also a lot of anxiety that you had to plan their schedule. You had to plan their daily activities. That was difficult for me. So I decided, okay, let's go and let's talk about conscious parenting. So what is conscious parenting? Gosh, 1 second. Conscious parenting is the connection between why is it good? Connection between the parent and the child. It's a self-awareness. It's a journey towards self-awareness, self-reflection, and towards mindfulness. It can reduce stress and anxiety. It can give you a longer attention span, a better communication, not only with children, but as well with other people who are being around you. Okay, so I would like to start with what conscious parenting is not. Okay, so conscious parenting is definitely not about spoiling your kid with lots of gifts, lots of attention. It's not about never saying no to your children. It's not like treating them little fragile statues that you have to cover them with cotton gloves. So absolutely not. And I would like to bring up an example how in hindsight, I understand that my parenting style was absolutely not conscious. And here we are, me and my child, over a meal, be it lunch, be it dinner. And I love my child, obviously. He's the most important thing in my life and most important person in my life. And I prepared the veggies so nicely. I prepared the chicken so nicely. I was standing and slaving over that lunch or dinner, whatever it was. And then I call him towards the table and I tell him, Mikey, come on, have some food. And he tells me no. So I tell him, how is that possible? You cannot say no. I cooked, I worked so hard. And it's very important for you to be healthy. So have some lunch. Well, it ended up he had tears in his eyes and I was angry and super frustrated. So, and that was just repeating. I mean, it's just an example how I was trying to impose my 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 ideas on my kid. So at one point I understood that this is not how I want to continue, because that created a lot of disconnection between me and my kid. And I reached out to a psychologist, and she was very helpful, who was actually my guide towards my still unfinished journey towards conscious parenting. So when I spoke to her, she told me, well, are you ready to go on a deep and inner reflective journey? That was kind of scary to, to, to start that whole thing. But yeah, I think I was brave enough and I just did it. I was desperate. I was very desperate. So yeah, let's go to the next slide. Okay, sorry. Okay. So before I would like to go deeper into what conscious parenting is, how it works, and what are my steps that I figured out are important, I would like quickly to tell you where I am coming from. So I was born, I am ethnically Kazakh, which was previously part of the Soviet Union. And while I was doing my research and putting up presentation, I really wanted to, I was Googling and I found 10 rules, which are actually 100% true, how Soviet children are being raised. So the parenting motto in the Soviet Union was, if you can't do it, we'll teach you. If you don't, you. So that was a very interesting statement. And that was very, it was really true. So first of all, there's a very rigid routine, meaning that you have to wake up a certain time. It's even regulated when you sleep, when you feed, and everything takes place according to a strict timeline. Furthermore, children were toughened up and putting to sleep in open air, and that's supposed to be very healthy. Number 3, we were accustomed to sports and physical education from a very, very young age. Even the schools had compulsory activities. Well, being physically active, that was one key thing. I remember I was put in 3 different kind of sports when I was a kid, and I was not even asked if I want to do that or not. Socializing children, meaning that kids were put into nurseries from a very, very young age, basically also from let's say first or second week, because the mothers had to go back to work, and so the Soviet state can benefit from that. And yeah, the 5th thing, teaching children to be responsible, or it was called also collective responsibility. For example, if you would be in school and somebody would display a negative behavior, the teacher would actually tell you, can you please stop? The teacher would say 1, 2, 3 times, but then the teacher would also know that in the break, the other kids from the class will make sure that this will not happen again. Rule number 6, teaching children independence and getting them used to work. So I knew how to saw, I hope this is the right word, from the moment I was able to hold a pen, probably. I was able to, I remember I was cleaning up my room. It has nothing to do with my kid whatsoever today. Dishes, everything. I was very small and I had to do everything. Cutting free time to a minimum, meaning that Soviet children had to be always busy. I even remember there was a very funny situation. My sleeping was absolutely not allowed. So if you sleep, you're being called lazy. So one time I called my friend and she was still sleeping. It was probably like 9 a.m. in the morning. And then she had already this voice like, yes, what are you doing? Yes, I'm not sleeping. God forbid I'm not sleeping. So that is cutting free time to a minimum. Children were not allowed to be spoiled because if you would spoil children, then people would understand that kids would turn into criminals, or it will be they will be antisocial members of the society, and meaning that we did not really have a lot of toys. And I have to say that I moved to Germany when I was 7 years old, and this actually continued for the whole time when I was living at home. So I was obviously still raised by a mother that is hardcore communist. So there were no such thing as luxury items. There were no such thing as too many clothes, not too many toys. So basically, all the previous rule: don't sleep, be busy, and don't get lazy. One of the positive things, instilling a love for nature, but then also teaching moral values that you're not ever supposed to lie, and you're supposed to love your leader, and you're supposed to you're not supposed to be a spoiled brat. So here I am, raised by a Soviet mom, full communist, grew up in Germany, married to an American guy, raising my kid in Dubai. And I'm trying to be a conscious parent. That was, for me at that time, absolutely not possible. But I was really lucky that I had this coach on my hand, and we went together to this imaginary, invisible therapy boot camp for parents. And this is where my journey started. So what is conscious parenting? When I was introduced to that idea through my coach, I was, to be honest with you, absolutely overwhelmed. Everything that she told me was, for me, absolutely a different language. It was a foreign language. I was not able to understand what she's talking about. And luckily, now, thanks to through the wave of there's a lot of awareness created outside. A lot of people are talking about consciousness and awareness, and but however, I would still like you to walk through what it meant for me. What is consciousness? So probably you guys have seen this picture already, that our mind is operating 5% on the conscious level and 95 on the subconscious level or unconscious level. So when it comes to conscious parenting, it basically means that you are in the moment. In the moment, you are aware and conscious. I hope that makes sense. So anyways, I was thinking, what is the trick? How do I feel it? How do I start it? I had no idea. But now, again, in hindsight, I can say that in my journey towards conscious parenting, I found 7 ultimate points that I came across to tap more into the 95% of the subconscious in order to increase the conscious level. So, how to be a conscious parent based on traditional paradigms. Parenting is about the child. So when we moved to Germany, my mom always told me that everything I do it for you. I don't exist. Everything that I do is absolutely, it's all about me. So, and the question that my coach asked me is, before you became a mother, what were your hopes and what were your wishes? So I started to think, and I figured out that my wishes were, if I have a baby, that baby would always eat the food that I give him. If that baby, it will go with me on nice, peaceful walks on the beach. It will be a lovely baby. It will eat no ice cream. No, it will be exactly like me. It will never speak back to me. So while uncovering my hopes and wishes, I realized that this vision of having a child was purely driven by my ego, 100%. 100% driven by my ego. And I always pretended, because I was taught not to have an ego. I was taught that parenting is all about the child, and there are no hidden agendas. So here I am with that question that she asked me, why did you become a mother and what were your hopes and wishes? Uncovering that I had an ego was actually a very painful discovery for me, because understanding that I have a hidden agenda and that I would not be able anymore to dictate to my child what to do. And then on the other hand, if he does not comply with me, then I will have the right to punish him the way I find it appropriate. So I was really ashamed of that, because it was a ego-filled agenda. But on the other hand, that was also a wake-up call for me, to change, to shift from an unconscious parent to a conscious parent. And then it's a very interesting thing that she told me, that my coach said to me that children until the age of 7, they are downloading programs from the environment. And as it says, it always takes a village. And sometimes you have a very small, sometimes a very big village to raise a child. But in the first 7 years, you're downloading the programs. And this is how you bring on the parenting style to the next generation. So being very ashamed was also a wake-up call to understand that it was not really my fault, and it was also not really the fault of the people who raised me. And again, it was not the fault of those people who raised them. It was just a very unconscious endeavor. Okay, I think I said everything here. Oh, sorry about that. So the bottom line from parenting is all about the child was that the ego was always responsible for being in control. So bottom line, I had to learn to let go of control, because that obviously did not work in my parenting style. The next one, the parent needs to be in control. Well, basically it's connecting to point 1, but I just want to say here an example from my personal parental journey. So my son is going on play dates, and then he came back home to me and he says, "Oh well, mommy, that nanny, she yelled at me." Well, and me being on this journey, I have to say I still didn't perfect it, and I still have my moments where I am going crazy and I am loose. So what am I doing? Next time I bring them there, I'm going to that lady and I'm actually starting to tell her that it's not okay to treat my son like that. And later on, again, I was really ashamed and embarrassed, but then I had to see that this is what I was trying to do. I was trying to be in control in order to let him figure it out himself. So, but behind the control is always a fear to be helpless. And I realized in my journey that I cannot be a commander over my son's spirit. I need to release control, and I rather be a guide and not a commander over him. But I also had to ask myself, what does this fear say about me when I want to be in control, and what would it mean for me to give up control? So when I started also to think about that, that was not very acceptable for me, because I like to be in control, and to let go of control would tell me that I'm helpless. Yeah, which is okay now, but in some situation it's still not okay for me. Okay. The other thing that I came across is parenting is supposed to be natural. So they say everybody can become a father, but not everybody can be a dad. So I think it's more towards this point. She asked me, do you think parenting is natural? Well, and I said, you know what? Yes, of course. It's very natural. It's okay. You have good days, you have bad days, you know. But then while we were exploring that point, I realized that there was too much of natural and too little of consciousness. There was a lot of yelling, but there was not a lot of being just present in the moment. So, and what she told me is that I don't have to know it all. And it just takes a conscious decision for it takes a conscious decision that my future parenting is one of awakening, not knowing it all, but the awakening of knowing. So basically, that was all I had to do to become a conscious parent, just to make a decision to be one. Well, when I took that decision and started to let go of control, and just for situation to happen at home and all the tantrums, I actually realized that the tantrums were not from my son. These were more or less my tantrums. So I started to come across with a lot of, I started to see my inner wounds, my inner childhood, my inner child that I still was carrying from my upbringing. So I had to see that I have a lot of perfectionism in there. I have a lot of pressure, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and that was not easy to see your own wounds. Once you let go of control, there is the helplessness. And when there's the helplessness, then you see your inner wounds. But that was okay after some time, because I started to have compassion for myself, and I started to have more forgiveness towards myself. And then also it was very quite interesting, because the statement says everybody can become a father, but not everybody can be a dad. So if you compare that to licensing, for example, if you're driving a car, you need a license. If you want to become a doctor, you need to go to med school. If you want to be a lawyer, and so on and so on. For every little thing, you need a license. And it's very interesting that parenting, there is no license for that. Nobody teaches you that. It's a very unconscious process that we say parenting is natural, but it's not. I really am pro licensing for giving like parents a license to become a good mom or dad. So yeah, and once I started to release control, I was told, and I was practicing to slow down, to connect with my child through nonverbal communication. I had to learn how to take a pause and not to be reactive, to take a break, to breathe, and also to ask myself, where is that reaction actually coming from? So going basically on an exploration towards my own inner child. So another old traditional paradigm that says about traditional parenting is it's all about a successful and happy child. And well, we all love our children very much. We don't want anything for them to happen, and we want all them to be happy and successful. We have friends back in the US, and we call her Tiger Mom because she has 2 kids. The kids are, I think they are 10, 15, but she already mapped out all their activities until they go to college, until they go, she mapped everything out. And of course, these are her fears, and these are all her desires for her child to be happy and successful. But research shows that those kind of children who are always racing for the next best mark, they also do have a lot of depression and a lot of anxiety. So at the same time, when we impose on our children for them to be happy and successful by pushing them, this creates even more disconnection, and this creates even more anxiety. So behind the idea of a successful and happy child are, again, as I mentioned before at the beginning, it's a ego-filled hidden agenda. And it's basically, I want my child to be happy and successful. And here we are again, I want the ego. So bottom line, what I understood from this point was that happiness and success is actually very different for everyone. Everyone defines it in a very different way. And the only way not to chase it, and if we chase it, is through acceptance. And actually, the core message of it is, if we want our children to be successful and happy, meaning we don't want our child to be in pain, but pain is actually very inevitable. Life is pain. So there is no sadness without joy. There's the yin and yang. I mean, everything has a plus and a minus, and we cannot experience the plus until we have experienced the minus. So the core message, the core fear that we have why we want our children to be successful and happy is because we don't want them to feel any pain. And what I learned is, as much as I want them not to have bad experience, I came to the realization that he has to experience the comfortable and uncomfortable things that are going on in life. And that happiness, yes, is a goal, but the non-pain is actually an illusion. And that this illusion of not wanting to see and experience pain brings a lot of judgment. It brings a lot of judgment towards self, towards others, and towards life overall. And that judgment leads again to resistance. And we see it perfectly on social media, right? That's why there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression on social media, because people are showing their beautiful lives. And the ones who are really going through real life, that is that includes pain, that has pain in it, that makes those people who are living the real life unworthy and hopeless, because this is an illusion what is happening on social media. So in my journey about this point, successful and a happy child, I realized that ideally I should not be wishing something for my child. And if I want to wish something with him or for him, then how to teach him how to handle uncomfortable situation, how to transform pain, which will make him more resilient in life. So yeah, just very quickly towards point number 4 is another example. We just signed up our kid in for a gymnastic class, and he showed up for the second time, and he didn't feel comfortable to go and approach the kids because he felt shy. So here I am, I wanted to go again and control and tell him and go and yell and you're gonna be okay. But then again, oh, the practice, just breathe, connect, and ask him, what is it really? What are you afraid of? And he says to me, well, I'm very fearful that they will not accept me. I will not have any friends. And then I said to him, it's okay. Why don't you go try? And if you fail, I'm here to catch you. But just take that pain, transform it. I don't know how much he was able to understand of it at 6 years old of my fancy language. But yeah, he did it, and I was very proud of him, and he was very proud of him. And I guess that was the resilient, another percentage of resilience that he gained. So expectations is another thing. So expectations is a very hard one. When I came to Germany with my mom was keep on telling me, we came here for a better future. We came here to achieve more. And that was expectation. And expectations, I still carry that expectations towards my son. Sometimes I catch myself with the thought of, oh my God, how nice would it be if my son would become like a doctor, or my son would become a lawyer, and he would make so much money, and he would marry this beautiful girl that I would never get into a fight with, and we would be so happy together. So, but I had to realize that expectations are coming from outside cultural archetypes, meaning expectations are always there on beauty, on success, on love, on family, on marriage, on religion, on status. And when we have expectations, expectations are always there. You will be disappointed, or not you, but when I had the expectation, I was always disappointed. My mom had the expectation of me to go into a business school, and that created, again, this connection between me and my mom. And I had to go and, you know, if you have expectations, or if I had expectation, then I always relied on a source of joy from the outside, never from the inside. So because I was always feeling I'm not good enough, or I'm not, I don't belong, or I'm not lovable enough. So it was a very conditional love, if you know what I mean. So, and the expectation was, yeah, you go to a business school. And I went to a business school, and I got that diploma, and I worked in very nice companies to make my mother happy. But at the end of the day, as soon as I was able to run away from that and go and do a psychology degree, I was out. So what I want to say about expectations, behind expectations, again, there are a lot of fears. Our parents, or my parent or my mother, of course, she always wanted the best for me. Perhaps her approach was not as right, and the right one for me. But those expectations, as I said, based on fear. And what I'm trying to do on my journey towards conscious parenting is I try to befriend my fear. I try to surrender. I try to feel that fear and turn it into courage, actually. Oh, and there's one point. what I wanted to say about expectations. So when I have my clients, when my clients come towards me and I see that they want to have a change, but they want the change to happen in someone else, not in them. They want the reality to change. It's never first couple of sessions, it's not about them. So they say, and it's again a lot of about expectations. So I also what realized is once I try to see expectations are making me blind. And when it makes me blind, I'm not able to connect with my kid. So I try to pause and take a deep breath and try to see it through the eyes of my child. And I realized if I do that, because expectations, they do cause anxiety. So what I try to do is I try to imagine, to walk into a future that is filled with trust and courage and love. And all of a sudden that fear and that present moment becomes absolutely different for me. And those expectations are actually just falling down. Are we good on time? Okay.
Yeah, you've got another 15 minutes here.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So this old traditional paradigm, a good parent is a loving one. So again, it was always based on if you play piano, my son, then you will be able to go and have your ice cream or your treat. So a good parent is a loving one, but then I had to understand that my love was very much conditional. So if you do that for me, then you perhaps get something that you want and I will be able to give to you. So meaning the term love is not simplistic, but sometimes misguided. In my case, it was because it was all about me. So the toolkit that I got here to be a loving and good parent is, again, I started to be more grounded, not to be very reactive, to pause. When I became angry, I started actually to explain my emotions, and that took also a very long time to build that emotional literacy. And overall, I have to say that the children overall are the gurus who are able to live in the present moment. You know, one moment they laugh, and another moment they completely forgot about what they were laughing about, and they're crying. And the shift happens again in another minute. So I see my child as my guru, as my guide, how to live in the present moment. The last point, no, I think I have two more, that's it. Good and bad children. So I realized there's no such thing as good or bad children. Bad children are actually now, before the lockdown, I worked as a school counselor, and I realized that there are no such thing as bad children. Bad children are actually the ones that have the guts to challenge an adult in their perspective and in the way they think. So again, I'm trying, if my children are misbehaving, or if I am myself misbehaving, because conscious parenting is purely about parenting the inner child. I try to see, and I try to see it through the lens of my inner child, or perhaps my kid. What are the wishes? What is his behavior or my behavior trying to say? So again, my child is my teacher. I am his spiritual guide. And I have to say, I'm not having all the answers towards parenting, but I try to be his nurturing container. I try to give him space and be more free flowing. And whenever we have this tsunami of emotions, I try to balance it out through the opposite of the emotions. So if he is screaming, I'm trying to be more calm, where in the past I was even yelling louder than him, you know? So, and what I came, a very beautiful quote was, feelings are meant to be felt, not rescued from. And how I try to be clear with going forward and trying to avoid a lot of situations that are triggering, I realize that their boundaries and positive reinforcements are very very crucial and important. And I would like to say that there are two types of boundaries. One type of boundaries are like life enhancing boundaries. They are there. Brushing your teeth, it's not debatable. You have to go to school, it's not debatable. You have to eat. But then there are ego enhancing boundaries that are, for example, football or treats, or I don't know. But anyways, and the most important thing is here with boundaries that I as parent have to be very clear about them. And here's an example. Sometimes when I'm busy, I just tell him, well, why don't you go and play on your pad? And then he goes, and if I am busy for 1 or 2 hours, he's busy, he's playing. But then when I'm done and I come to the living room and I feel like, oh, that guy has been so long on his pad. No, now give me your pad. So that child is confused. Here you have here you're giving me your the pad on the plane or in the restaurant for me to be quiet, and then when you don't want me to be on my pad, then you just take it away. The problem is because my boundaries are not set, my boundaries are not clear. So it's very important it was very important for me to realize, what kind of a message am I sending across? And how much compliant am I myself with that message? And what does that message really mean to me? So, just a summary. What is conscious parenting? Consciousness is the ability to become more aware of when we fall off track. Meaning, when my son is having a tantrum and I'm yelling back, well, I have not been conscious and I have fallen off track. When we need to shift back into a deeper state of awareness, when we are being triggered by our past rather than responding to the present, meaning when we are triggered from the way we were raised, or triggered by our fears and our patterns, when we are responding to our own unmet needs rather than responding to a child's needs in that specific moment. So the takeaway message is, conscious parenting is a philosophy. It is a philosophy. It is not a quick and clear-cut fix to parenting challenges, because it takes a long time to achieve the amount of self-reflection and internal control. I have to say it's very challenging in young children because they don't understand. But in the long run, it's better for my connection and authentic relationship in order not to create disconnection between me and my kids. And I really think that golden rule is always a mix of everything. I cannot deny that I am still yelling and that I'm still threatening and humiliating and punishing and all whatever the toolkit for parenting allows you to do, you know. But
just talk.
Sorry. So yeah, I just think that the golden rule is a mix of everything, and conscious parenting is a philosophy. It's damn hard. It's really hard. But the good thing is that once I was able to understand the whole concept, I am being more forgiving and more compassionate with me, because I'm unfolding the old patterns that I was raised by, and that I was, as I said, 95% are the unconscious, and we are being ruled or guided by this 95% unconsciousness throughout the day, and only 5% are conscious. So yeah, I'm still very looking forward towards my journey towards conscious parenting. And thank you very much, guys, for listening to me today and giving me the opportunity to share my point of view about my topic that I chose. Cheers.
Thank you, Jana. Maybe you want to stop sharing screen?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how this works.
Do you want me to do it from here?
Yeah, if you can.
Done, sir.
Yeah.
Guys,
So if anyone has any questions, I forgot to say that. If anyone has any questions or any input or the way you liked it and what was perhaps beneficial for you, I will be very interested in your opinion.
Yeah, Janara, hi, Damien from
Hi,
Australia.
Damien.
Hey,
Hi.
I've got a 17-and-a-half-year-old daughter going on 35, so I can relate to some of the things you're going to be going through. No, I think it's interesting to look at your description of the Soviet era sort of parenting. And as people may think it's harsh, but if you look at kids nowadays, they get an award just for showing up. But I tell you what, when they go to the workplace and they come in the morning, no one's going to give them a round of applause. So it's that whole balance of tough love, I think, to set them up for the realities of what's happening after school, that little cocoon. So I think certainly had some good learnings there to bring through. I think it's the West that has softened the kids too much, to be honest. And yeah, but good presentation. I like your pace and tone, and it's obviously something you're very passionate about, being a young mum of two. So well done.
Thank you very much.
And look out for the teen years. As soon as they turn 13, somebody else wakes up in the morning.
Hi, Jana.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Natalia. I'm new to your community. I just started my training program with Damien this month, actually in June. I think this is great. I mean, this was just, I have two kids, twins. They're 15 years old, boys. And, like every day I'm having this, I have to always remind myself about my Soviet past. And you just described it. And I have to tell to myself, you have to do it differently. But, as you described, I think you were so close what I had in my, when I was a kid. And this is like so tough to change myself now. But I think might want to actually print out what you, the slide, and just put it somewhere on the wall to remind me every day, this principle. So thank you very much. It's great.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
Anyone else for Jana?
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Who's talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you can go. Ladies first. Ladies first.
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you. It was a great session. And thank you so much for your honesty. At the end of it, when you said you still have that yelling and that's a little bit more comforting. So something we can work on is the awareness and kind of self-reflection before we start, getting rid of all the yelling and all of that. So thank you. Thank you for your honesty.
My pleasure.
Hi, I'd like to add something. Firstly, it was a brilliant presentation. Thank you for that. You came out very genuine because you spoke about your own vulnerabilities while parenting. So it was really good, really, and it just felt like you were talking about coaching your kid, like asking questions and trying to guide them rather than control them. So it had a lot of coaching things as well. I have a nephew who's 4, who's turning 5, and I've seen I can actually influence them with actions and then give them space to be themselves. So I resonated a lot with that. And thank you for the presentation. It was really good.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hi there, team, and thank you very much, Shaheen. Awesome presentation. For those who are parents and for those who are still becoming parents, it's vitally important because they are future tomorrows. At times, like Ivan was saying, that the West teaches us to have that too much softness on them. And when they live in the real harsh world as what we are living in today, we as parents, that's our skill sets, to give them that ability to fall so that they can get up and walk again. I always say to many people that, how many times have you bumped your head? How many times have you fallen when you were a toddler struggling to walk? Many times. Through that falling, through those pains, you persevered and wanted to walk. So if we don't allow them to fall, to hurt themselves, we're stopping them from achieving their goals, because we want to predict their goals in life. We want to predict their life. We want to script their lives for them. We should always remember as parents that we are there to guide them. So to hear them and give them the best advice that we can do. My mom will always say that the biggest pain she has is letting her kids walk up at the door, because she's got control over what they're doing in the home. Outside, they're facing the world. So the best she can do is equip them to face the world. So thank you very much for your presentation. It was awesome.
Thank you.
And
thank you, Shaheen.
I've all the love and blessings to you as a mom, for your journey with your children further in the future.
Thank you.
I think parents are speaking from the space of parenting. And I think you also got a little empathetic with the
Sorry?
whole listening. I'm saying, seems people also got very empathetic with the topic. And Jana, I think you reflected instead of you spoke about it. It was almost like you're reflecting your journey with your children, then telling us what to do. And I think that created a very welcoming space for people to listen to.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Hi, Jana.
Hey, Brenda. Hey.
Well, I just want to tell you that was absolutely amazing. It was so wonderful, and for someone like me who knows your children and know how absolutely wonderfully they're just awesome kids. And I can tell you just from being around you and being around them, I can tell everyone that there may be times or whatever, but the growth since in these last few months, the growth, and that's the greatest thing about being a parent, is that we grow and we learn as we experience different things. So I just want you to know I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Brenda.
So thank you, everyone. I think there seemed to be a moment of reflection for everybody at the moment. And Jana, we will be posting this on the group. If any questions people have for you, they will be asking on Facebook group. So please be there to answer questions.
Oh, you mean like on Facebook?
We've got a Facebook group. Are you part of that?